Good evening to everyone joining us in this webinar. Always a pleasure, always a joy to have you come in, interact with us, and connect and learn something new. And today I'm very happy to see not just people that have not been part of the journey in public speaking, but even our alumni at the Africa Center for Public Speaking. Big up to Shoaib Timimi. I can see you joining us all the way from Mombasa. Shoaib Timimi was among the first students of public speaking when we started in Mombasa around 2010, 2011 there. That's when Shoaib joined the public speaking, and he grew up to become a coach. Maybe one of these fine days I will have an interview with Shoaib to tell you about his journey in personal development. I know he's very passionate about that. I've also seen Steve Rabuku. Steve Rabuku, where are you? Steve, are you still here or he has dropped? But I'm also...
I'm there, coach.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Wonderful to have Steve here. Steve graduated this year, and I think this year or last year, Steve?
This year, February.
Yeah, he was in the January class this year, and Steve is an international conference interpreter, you know, from English to French or French to English. Very good in that, a rare gift indeed. And Jacqueline Nkrote, who just graduated yesterday, the newest public professional speaker in town. Jacqueline, how are you? Jacqueline, if you could, you can hear me. Maybe you can say something. And always a pleasure to have the alumni and also have the new people, our guests, who always join in to connect with the audience, connecting with you and learning from you also at the same time. And I want to try and see whether I can make this short so that we can have a lot of interaction. But one of the things I would want to beseech you today is, can we keep our interaction within the theme of today, instead of diving into many other things? Because sometimes I feel we go into past questions that I have already answered in the past webinars. So let's stick to the theme. We will learn a lot if we ask questions related to the theme. The rule of three is so magical in public speaking, in the way it allows a speaker to express a concept, emphasize it, and make it memorable. All great speakers have been inferred to use this rule of three in enabling them to pass a message effectively, to pass their presentation or to deliver their presentation effectively. And Roy Peter Clark, in talking about the magic of number three, he says this that is very, very key, that in our language or culture, three provides a sense of the whole. Three provides a sense of the whole. In the anti-math of writing, Clark says this, the number three is greater than four. In mathematics, 4 is greater than 3. But in the anti-math of writing, the number 3 is greater than 4. So this module of 3 offers a greater sense of completeness than 4 or more. And then because I had to emphasize something that I want you to get it, even as we set this foundation today. Use 1 for power. Use 1 for power. If you want to really emphasize something and appear very powerful, then keep emphasizing one thing. One thing. I have a dream. 7 times he repeats that phrase. I have a dream. And that was not the name of that speech. I will challenge you to go and look. What is the name of the speech? But today we still remember I have a dream, because Martin Luther King Jr. repeated the phrase, I have a dream, 7 times. And then use 2 for comparison and contrast. if you want to create comparisons, if you want to create contrast, then go ahead and use 2 to create comparison and contrast. But use 3 for completeness, wholeness, roundness. Use 3 for completeness, wholeness, roundness. And then you can use 4 to list, inventory, compile, and even expand an idea. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But then today, we want to focus more on 3. Because if you master how to use the rule of 3, then it's going to make things so easy for you in helping you to express a concept, emphasize it, and then make it memorable when you are delivering your presentations. Are there sticky ideas around us as far as the rule of 3 is concerned? Are there sticky ideas around us? I'm going to show you just a few. In religion, let's look at Christianity. We talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We talk about faith, hope, and charity. What about in Islam? One time I was handling a professional speakers course class, and I challenged one of the students, a friend of mine is an American Somali who was part of the class. But I said, is there a rule of 3 in Islam? And he told me, yes, coach, there's a lot about the rule of 3. And he said, I'm going to do research on that. But I also challenged myself to do research. And you find that in Islam, accomplishing certain tasks in odd numbers is very significant. It is said of Imam Tirmidhi, who mentions a hadith in which Nabi, that is Muhammad, may peace be upon him, is reported to have said that certainly Allah is odd, or O-double-D, and loves that which is odd. In Arabic, you find that the first plural number is number 3. But if a person counts from number 1, the very first number which denotes multitude is number 3. What does that mean then? Number 3 is odd number. It is for this reason that in certain aspects of Sharia law, when a large amount is intended, then it must be done in the least odd number, which denotes a multitude, which is number 3. So you will find that number 3 is pervasive in religion. What about in politics? We talk about the 3 arms of government: executive, judiciary, and also legislature. Executive, judiciary, and also the legislature. The US Declaration of Independence is in 3. They talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And Rabuku, who is very good in French, will tell you about the French motto. Is also in 3. It's a liberté, égalité, and fraternité. So the French motto is also in 3. But some of you who grew up like me during the Moi era, then during the Moi era, then you will find out that we used to talk about, Moi had this philosophy called the peace, love, and unity. How many of you can remember that if you grew up during Moi's time? You know, President Moi had this philosophy of peace, love, and unity. It is said that the United States Marines are big believers in the rule of 3 when it comes to getting things done and keeping people alive. Get me right, even before President Ruto said, Mambo ni matatu, the rule of 3 was already massive and used greatly in the world of public speaking. He's not the one who reinvented the wheel in that part. The rule of 3 have been used greatly. If you remember Julius Caesar, in Shakespeare's book about Julius Caesar talks about veni vidi vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. I came, I saw, I conquered. Abraham Lincoln, in his Gettysburg Address, that is deemed to be one of the shortest speech, but yet one of the most impactful speeches in the world, he came up with a statement that today we look at it as the definition of democracy. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. Government of the people, for the people, by the people. Barack Obama's inaugural address in 2008, he said, we must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of rebuilding America. We must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of rebuilding America. So you can see that statement is in 3. And the other statements, also you find them, they are in 3. But I'm sure you're asking yourself, Dan, if the magic of the rule of 3 is to allow a speaker to express a concept, emphasize it, and then make it memorable, how then do we use it or use the rule of 3 in the entire speech? I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to use the rule of 3 in enabling you to deliver a speech. So if you are writing down, then get ready for this. Number 1 tip is slice the speech into groups of 3. Slice the speech into groups of 3. That old advice from Dale Carnegie, a public speaking guru, still stands. Tell them what you want to tell them. Tell them. Tell them what you have just told them. Tell them what you want to tell them. Introduction. Tell them body. Tell them what you have just told them. Conclusion. Did you get that? That is tip number 1. Slice the speech into groups of 3. Tell them what you want to tell them. Introduction. Tell them your body. Tell them what you have just told them. Conclusion. For beginners, what it does, it helps you to preview and summarize, not just start and end your speech. You are able to preview and at the same time to summarize your speech. Tip number 2, mostly it affects the body. Tip number 2, mostly you find that it affects the body. So use the 3-part organizational structure. So what do you do here? Just come up with 3 points. 3 points only. The body. If you are using what is called a problem solution structure, then talk about a problem and a solution. A problem number 2 and a solution. A problem number 3 and a solution. So that you're just dealing with 3 things. If there are more than 3, squeeze them so that there are 3. So maybe there are 4. You can do 1, 2, 3, and 4 becomes 3. So you mention 3 and 4 as if it's just 1 point as 3. If there are 6 points, then 2, 2, 2, so that you have 3 points in your body. And then you can go ahead now and explain or elaborate by using different techniques of public speaking. It could be stories, it could be comparison, rhetoric questions, quotations, humor, metaphors, in helping you to explain your 3 points and make them memorable at the same time. You will find that then when you are constructing your speech, your body is where you will have the bigger work. And you will really need to take time to prepare very well. There is an art of public speaking that is demonstrated in the delivery of the speech, but there is a science of public speaking that most of the time works profoundly when you are preparing for your speech. So if you treat speaking sacred, I've always said here, then you will get sacred results. But if you treat speaking casual, then you wonder why every time you stand to speak, you get casual results. People don't take you serious. And you find yourself not influencing the world the way you are supposed to influence it. And then tip number 3, use the rule of 3 for phrases, sentences, and words. So you'll find tip number 3 then cuts across throughout your speech, from introduction to your body to your conclusion. You can always use tip number 3 because it's about phrases, it's about sentences, it's about words. And I want to show you a video here, and I want you to be very keen because then I'm going to ask questions where you saw the rule of 3. This video is about Obama when he was running for president in 2008. And see how he punches the rule of 3, especially on tip number 3, using the rule of 3 for phrases, sentences, and words. I don't know whether you're ready, but let's see. Let's see.
Real leadership is about candor and judgment and the ability to rally Americans from all walks of life around a common purpose, a higher purpose. After 4 great contests in every corner of this country, we have the most votes, the most delegates, and the most diverse coalition of Americans that we've seen in a long, long time. And in 9 days, nearly half the nation will have the chance to join us in saying that we are tired of business as usual in Washington. We are hungry for change, and we are ready to believe again. And as we leave this great state with a new wind in our backs, and we take this journey across this great country with the message we've carried from the plains of Iowa to the hills of New Hampshire, from the Nevada desert to the South Carolina coast, the same message we had when we were up and when we were down, that out of many we are one, that while we breathe we will hope, and where we are met with cynicism and doubt and fear, we will respond with that timeless creed that sums up the spirit of the American people in 3 simple words: yes, we can.
All right. So did you see the rule of 3, or should I play the video once again? Did you see the rule of 3 right there? Did everybody hear me, or the video was breaking? I'm seeing somebody telling me that the video was breaking. Was it clear? Let me get a thumbs up if the video was clear and you heard and you got some. All right, many of you look like yes, you had. Maybe for those who maybe the video wasn't clear, maybe the problem was on your side. But I want to hope that you saw and you heard Obama using the rule of 3, especially tip number 3 in phrases, sentences, and words. So you can construct your sentences, you can construct your phrases, and also the use of your words by using the rule of 3 to communicate your message. Sorry for that. But I want to hope that you've gotten to understand how to use the rule of 3. Coach Mills, to you for questions.
Yeah. Now we are in the, but before we go to the Q&A, I wanted to see if you can just ask where they picked up the rule of 3 in the clip by the former President Obama.
Let me hear from you. Where did you pick the rule of 3?
Stephen
Can you
Rabu
play the
says,
video again? Okay, let's play the video again.
all right.
After 4 great contests in every corner of this country, we have the most votes, the most. Real leadership is about candor and judgment and the ability to rally Americans from all walks of life around a common purpose, a higher purpose. After 4 great contests in every corner of this country, we have the most votes, the most delegates, and the most diverse coalition of Americans that we've seen in a long, long time. And in 9 days, nearly half the nation will have the chance to join us in saying that we are tired of business as usual in Washington. We are hungry for change, and we are ready to believe again. And as we leave this great state with a new wind in our backs, and we take this journey across this great country with the message we've carried from the plains of Iowa to the hills of New Hampshire, from the Nevada desert to the South Carolina coast, the same message we had when we were up and when we were down, that out of many we are one, that while we breathe we will hope, and where we are met with cynicism and doubt and fear, we will respond with that timeless creed that sums up the spirit of the American people in 3 simple words: yes, we can.
All right, back to you, Mills, as we interact. But let me hear from you. I see somebody, most people just had, yes, we can, the rule of 3. Pamela Chemonges says, higher purpose, common purpose. Now, there is something there that Obama also used the rule of 2 at some point, if you are very keen, in creating comparison and contrast, okay? So higher purpose, common purpose, that was the rule of 2. Okay, tired of normal business. I see Grace Momo saying that. Okay. Let me hear. Well, what did you see? What did you heard about the rule of 3? Can you lift it from that particular speech? But even if maybe you are mesmerized by his ability to deliver and to carry the crowd, at least you could see or feel the rule of 3 enabling you to express a concept, emphasize it, and make it memorable. And that is a very, very important thing. Expressing a concept, emphasize it, and making it memorable. Back to you, Coach Mills. I see Beatrice Nyaga says, while we breathe, we hope. Now that's the rule of 2 right there. Comparison. Okay. Most votes, most delegates, most devout coalitions. Derek Wanjala. That's 2. Angry of change. Where we are in doubt, we will win. Again, that's David Nyakwara. That's the rule of 3 right there in phrases and sentences. application. So thank you, guys. I feel like you've learned something today, and you can apply it in your presentations to make your presentation come out more effectively. Back to you, Coach Mills, and if there are any questions that people would like to ask in relation to the theme of today, how to use the rule of three in delivering a message.
Yeah, thank you. Before we transition to the Q&A, I would just want to add something. Yeah, one thing that I found very, very interesting, even when I took the class and we were discussing about the rules, is just how much this rule is used in marketing, right? Like so many ads that we watch on television or nowadays in the digital space, they really observe the rule of three. And one that I can think of right now on top of my head is an ad that was done by, I think it was Oreo, where they talked of twist it, lick it, and then dunk it. That was Oreo, right? That's a rule of three. And so many other ads that we have today, or we have been listening to over the years, the marketing space really, really observes the rule of three, because that's how, it's easy. It's wholesome, it's complete, and it's easy to retain and remember and just come up with a slogan. So yeah, that's just an add-on from my end, because again, I find this whole conversation of observing the rule of three when we are preparing for a presentation, or when you're presenting, or you just want to be memorable, like it really does apply. So yeah, so now we have opened up the Q&A session. So if you have something you want to ask, you can raise your hand and then I will call you out, or you can drop your question in the chat box. Ali, I see your hand is up. Is that a question you have, Ali Mwanyasi? Ali, is that a question? Okay, Jane, your hand is up. You can go. You can ask your question. No.
I think they had lifted their hands at a certain time
Yeah.
when you asked a question and they forgot to bring their hands down.
All right, it's all right. So if you have a question for Coach around the topic of the Power of Three, or something he mentioned that you want clarity on, this would be the ideal time. All right, Grace, there's a question in the chat box by Grace Momo. She asks, thank you for the profound session. My question is, does the rule of three apply in interviews?
Yes, it can do apply in interview, because you see, once you master the rule of three and make it part and parcel of the way you communicate your message, then it will help you to really express a concept, emphasize it, and make it memorable. So it's profound. Even in interview, when you are asked a particular question, how do you phrase the answers using the rule of three? And you can do it so many times until it becomes part and parcel of you, that you find yourself, every time you're communicating, you structure your sentences unconsciously in three and communicate your message. So how do you get to that level where you make the rule of three part and parcel of you, that it becomes your unbreakable habit in communicating effectively to an audience? Again, it can also be used in writing. My second book, that is Eradicating a Poverty Mentality, that we have mentioned here, some of you have even bought the book. I think I have the demo book here with me. Big time use the rule of three in structuring my sentences and giving out points. So there are a lot of points that have been given in three. So it applies in writing, it applies in speaking, it applies in interview, it applies in movies. You remember the movie the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, still in 3. If you go to the Superman's motto, you find the Superman's motto was in 3. So every day we interact with 3. Every day we interact with 3, including family. Even before the perversion of family came in, we know the family is made up of the father, the mother, and the children. And that cannot change, okay? So even if every day we look at different sides and you find 3 is always the norm. Thank you. Coach Mills, to you? Right, any other question? Looks like we have lost Coach Mills a little bit. Any other question from anybody in relation to today's topic? I'm looking in the chat box whether there is any question. Right, can the rule of 3 be used, Mwangi Mudoni asked, as a technique to overcome fear of public speaking? Yes. You know why? Because it helps you to be short and precise and to the point. Dale Carnegie said, "Blessed are those who make short speeches, for they shall be invited again to speak." So if you learn and master the rule of 3, then you find yourself be able to communicate effectively with your audience, especially if your problem is more in the content preparation. Content preparation. How do you use the rule of 3 to help you to be short and precise to the point when you're communicating your message? Thank you, Rosaline Karani. I see you saying an excellent presentation. Banaski Kovi. So thank you for the webinar. Kindly share recording. Of course, we are recording this and the recording will be shared with you for your consumption. David Nyakora says, can we use the rule of 3 in content delivery when teaching? Wonderful. I use it every day. And so you can adapt this. And let me tell you, if you learn how to use this big time, you will find your students be able to retain their level of memory will go higher. They will be able to retain content very easily. So you can use it in teaching. Because remember, when you're talking about, maybe one day we will handle memory training here, and that is important in public speaking. The principles of memorization, there are only 3. We talk about cognitive structure, interest, and then spaced repetition. And for you who went to school and interacted with very good teachers, you know, cognitive structure is where teachers use mnemonics to enable students remember the content. Right from baby classes, they told you A for apple, B for ball, C for cat, D for dog, okay, or C for cat, because they knew kids can remember these animals, even though they may not be able to remember the letters. So by remembering the animal, people are able to remember the letters very, very easily. And then interest, developing curiosity to enable your students to remember that particular content. Then spaced repetition, causing them to repeat the content again and again until they can be able to memorize it. So yes, it can be used.
Okay, Bernard asks, how can you manage to use the technique of slicing the speech in groups of 3 without sounding monotonous?
All right, so monotony comes from different things. And most of the time, monotony is produced by the way you use your voice. So if your voice is monotonous, and what you are saying also, maybe there's too much repetition, then you will sound monotonous. Now, understand this. But the rule of 3 does not help you to transmute common marketplace thoughts into wonderful big ideas. No, it doesn't. Your content has to be rich also. And then align it and arrange it using the rule of 3. and then make sure the other techniques of delivery are also coming handy in enabling you to present your message. It is not just about the rule of three alone. The other combinations, as far as speech delivery is concerned, are very key. So Bernard, you will not sound monotonous if you use the other ingredients to enable you to elaborate your points. Maybe you have 3 points, but elaborating your points using wonderful techniques, maybe stories, examples, statistics, you have comparisons, you have humor. All this will draw your audience to yourself. And then when you are using you're projecting your voice, you have tone variation and vocal charm. Definitely your audience will be drawn to listen to you. Nixon, I see you saying some of us joined in late. Can we be helped in any other way? Yes. We're going to send a recording of this, Nixon. So don't worry about that. Beatrice Nyaga, you say, how do you overcome nervousness and shaking while delivering the speech? Now, I will tell you this, Beatrice Nyaga. I may be able to answer you here, okay, but that's not enough. I'm not going to lie to you. Some of these things take training and coaching to be able to overcome that. And that's why Coach Mills will tell you about our program, and you can sign in to our programs, Beatrice, and then we can have a sitting with you to get to know exactly what is the source of your shaking when you're delivering your speech. What is the source of your nervousness? Because there are different reasons why people are nervous and why people shake when they're delivering a speech. And so we will not be able to expound that here unless we sit down with you and be able to go to the source of that. Is it your personality? Okay. Is it an environmental factor? Is it a behavioral problem that you have incurred? Is it an esteem issue? What really is the issue? And then how do we address that issue? Because different issues can be solved differently through a practical session, taking you through the program for either 5 weeks or even more than 5 weeks, depending on the program that you have signed up. So Beatrice, please get in touch with us. We would like to help you. To you, Coach Mills.
Yeah, let me see if there's any other question. I think we've addressed, okay. Yeah, Grace is asking, please Dan, repeat about your book and where to get it. I'll talk about it, Grace. I'll talk about the book and how you can get it. Okay, Maria Wendo asks, what's the thin line between a short and long speech in terms of duration?
What's, did I get that right? What's the thin line between a short and a long speech in terms of duration? So a standard speech that you talk, a standard long speech should take up to 45 minutes. It's a standard speech. Okay? But then, depending on the occasion and the event, the speech might need to be shorter. Sometimes what dictates a long or a short speech, it is the event. For example, if you go for a ceremonial setup and you're delivering a speech, maybe it's in a wedding, a funeral, a birthday party, and you do a 30-minute speech, that is long, okay? Because people ideally don't go to ceremonies to listen to long speeches. So a 5-10 minutes, not more than 15 if you go so much, will be good in such setups. So Maria, it depends with the event that you're attending and what is expected of you again. Yeah. So you, Coach Mills?
Yeah. Beatrice, it looks like a sentence, not really a question, but Beatrice Nyaga says, nervousness is a result of people staring at you. It doesn't have a question mark. I'm assuming it's a statement. And then there's a lot of thank yous. Riziki says thank you. Bernard says thank you. Mwangi Mudhoni says thank you. And Jane says thank you. Bunny says thank you. Is there another question before we close the Q&A? I don't want to lock anyone out. Or maybe you asked a question and we missed it in the chat box. Okay, Betty, your hand is up. You can go. You can ask.
Okay. I wanted to find out if your English is not perfect. Can you make a speech? Because sometimes there are phrases that are used, so I'm not very sure whether that can maybe feel you are not very well in communicating or something. So you can't even make a speech.
All right, Betty. First, I need to demystify that public speaking is not about English. Yeah? You can be a good speaker in your own language, native language, Betty. You can be a good Swahili speaker, just like I am also, all right? Or any other language that you have proficiency in. Having said that, I understand that English is a requirement, especially in professional setups most of the time, to address people in this language. And so you might not be perfect. That's okay. How do you make sure you are confident enough to deliver your message effectively? You may have some grammatical errors sometimes. That should not hinder you from moving forward to grow in delivering your speech. So if you are conscious, like now you're aware of some of the mistakes that you made, that should not hinder you from speaking. What that should do is to help you grow in that particular language to make sure you become a better communicator whenever and wherever you are. So maybe, Betty, you want to challenge yourself to read books, English books, to listen to English speeches, okay? And then recording yourself and listening to yourself to see where you make mistakes so that you begin to correct. You'll be surprised that slowly by slowly, you will master the art of communicating in the English language. So it's about practice. It's not about you, allowing yourself to be bogged down and stop communicating in English simply because you make 1-2 mistakes. Now, let me give you an example. And this is a problem in this country. When somebody makes a mistake in English, people become so much aware, even the person who has made the mistake. But how many people make mistakes in Swahili, including our politicians, our presidents? Every day I hear leaders speak in Swahili, they make a lot of mistakes. Wanavunja ngeli, hawawezi kujieleza kwa ufasaha, lakini tunawasikiliza na hatuwatoi makosa ya lahaja ama la makosa ya matumizi yao ya ngeli za Kiswahili na kanuni za lugha ya Kiswahili. So in the same spirit, keep going and keep becoming better in delivering your speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your question. Steve Rabuku says, thank you, Coach Dan, for this wonderful session. Eric Githaiga says, this session is well articulated. Thanks for the insight. Beatrice says, I don't get the answer to overcoming nervousness while on stage when you see a crowd staring at you. She's referring to stage fright. Yeah, she's saying she asked about it earlier and it wasn't responded to. So I guess it's a question. How do you overcome nervousness and shaking while delivering the speech? That was the question she had asked earlier.
And I answered that, Mims. I think Beatrice, where are you? I want to see that I want to hear that you can hear me as I answer it again. Beatrice, where are you? I want you to acknowledge first. All right, Beatrice, this is what I said in relation to your question. There is no single answer to your problem. I have to sit down with you. You tell me a little bit about you and what happens when you're on stage. Because the reason why people become nervous and shake on stage are different. It's not one reason why people do that. Somebody else, a coach in public speaking, may tell you it's just one blanket reason. No. Sometimes I said it could be a personality issue. Sometimes it's a behavioral issue or an environmental issue. It could be a historical issue that has to do with childhood trauma that you went through, maybe. Okay? And right now, when you are on stage, you know, that comes in. It could even be a post-traumatic stress, right? Or glossophobia, the whole fear of public speaking. Okay? So to be able to address that is through a practical session, Beatrice. Because I can tell you things, but what are you going to do about it? Unless you are exposed to an audience and you work with a coach to help you become a better communicator. Those who have come to our classes here, they will tell you, some of them, when they come in the first week, they're very nervous. But slowly by slowly, as they begin to learn and take in the techniques and begin to apply them in their life, slowly by slowly, they begin to become better. Some of them, we take them out of class and sit down with them and take a counseling approach, okay? Because these people maybe are dealing with anxiety disorders or a panic attacks, okay? So we help them overcome that to be able to. So I may not know exactly what makes you shake or not, where you're being nervous when you are on stage, unless I get to sit down with you and we go deeper to understand the reason and help you process it and overcome it. So I hope, Beatrice, you have gotten it right now. Is that clear, Beatrice?
Yes, she says yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Christine, we have a few more questions, I think like maybe 3. Christine asks, no, it's a statement. It's just, yeah, she says, I want to appreciate Dan and your team. You trained me well, and my ability to speak in public enabled me to be appointed in a government agency as a director. Congratulations. I'm encouraging those who haven't trained to do so. Oh, thank you so much, Christine. Habari ndio hiyo. And then Bagire Sean says, great session, thank you. British Naval says, was confirmations. Yeah, Collins, it's a question from Collins Inc. He says, is practice the most important tool for public speaking? And how long is enough practice to know you are averagely good?
Practice, 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 practice. That's what I would say, okay? And when you have practiced and have gotten better, don't stop. Keep practicing. Even me, I will have to listen to myself again and evaluate how I deliver this. Even experienced speakers, and Shoaib will tell you, that you have to keep checking on yourself. This is an art. If you stop, you rust. So you have to keep sharpening yourself and become better. It's just like driving. If you stop driving for 6 months or 1 year, believe me, when you come back on the road, you'll be a bit shaky. So you have to keep sharpening yourself and developing yourself and becoming better. Of course, there is that initial duration, like we take people for 5 weeks, but we tell them, we have given you the foundations, we have given you the techniques and the skills. So what you need to do now is to dive in there, go out, take opportunities, keep speaking. The more you keep speaking, keep developing yourself, and keep, getting feedback, the more you keep getting better and better. So depending on who you are and the environment you are in, for different people, sometimes it may take a little bit longer, sometimes it may take a little bit shorter for you to get it very, very well. But I will tell you, practicing is the key.
All right, thank you, Coach. Probably the last question from the chat box. What Twitter asks, I usually forget what I wanted to say when I get on stage. Even if I had written on paper, I'm not able to refer.
That is a problem of nervousness sometimes, because you have it there on paper, but you're not able to refer because you go blank, and at the same time you are shaky, you get confused. So there is a need for you to go through coaching so that you can be calm, understand that it's not a do or die, it's just speaking. And reminding yourself that your audience is not your enemy, your audience is one big friend. How do you smile and communicate to this audience in a friendly manner? Through coaching, again, you can be able to overcome that. That's why we take people through memory training. So that even if you feel you cannot refer the paper, at least your mind will remind you of the next point that you are to say, and you can go ahead and say it and explain it. Now, sometimes we give our audience a lot of power. If I ask you whether you knew, I will say all this that I say. You didn't know. It is me who knew what I'm going to say. So sometimes when we go blank, we assume our audience knew what we were to say, the next point. And that's not true. So what you need to do is to allow your mind to flow, and sometimes your mind will give you the next thing, and you can jump into that and keep going. The most important thing is to take control of your audience and communicate your message. Thank you.
Okay, that was the last one, but allow me to read some comments. Jacqueline Kirote says, thank you so much, Coach Dan. Thank you, Coach Mills. Thank you for walking the journey of overcoming glossophobia with me. Public speaking is a course I would encourage everyone to take, because in the process I built my own confidence and esteem. It was a great journey. Thank you, Jacqueline. Fanuel also says, great session, insightful. Karibu. Beatrice, she says, yes, thank you. Thank you for the great session. I have learned a lot. Thank you, Beatrice. Harlan says, thank you, Mr. Dan and team for this session. A good review moment indeed. And then the question that I was, not a question really, but yeah, Dan asks, do you get certified after finishing the courses? That's a great question. I will take it. I will transition in the next phase. And with that, I want us to just give Coach Dan some claps, even as he exits the virtual space. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let me transition to the next stage as a response to the other questions that have come up. Okay. All right, so yeah, to respond to the question about certification and about the courses that we offer, allow me to take us through them even as we wind up. So yeah, we at the Africa Center of Public Speaking, we do offer a couple of courses. Ideally, our main course that we are so passionate about and our coaches are well trained on is on public speaking. And there we have 4 different programs that we offer under public speaking. The first one is the professional speakers course. Now, the professional speakers course is a training that we normally host in a class setup, and it runs for 5 weeks. And in those 5 weeks, we normally have classes 3 times a week. That is every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The classes happen in the evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, they run for 5 weeks, so in total, it's usually 15 sessions. All right, it's in a class setup, and for every class, you normally take a maximum of 12 students. Why? Because the classes are very practical. I'd say 80% is practical and 20% is theory. So to be able to attend and really be able to evaluate every single student, it's very important that we keep our classes small. The next class is starting on Monday, because the August class, they graduated yesterday on Wednesday. Yeah. So the next class is starting on Monday. We have 3 slots. They told me you have 3 slots open. So if you'd want to sign up for the September class, I will let you know the details. And then the October class will start on 21st. We'll talk about it later. And then other than the professional speakers course, we have the regular speakers course. Now, if you feel like your schedule may not allow you to attend a class that is happening 3 times a week from 6 to 8 p.m. Then we have the regular speakers course. Now that one, it's a one-on-one. It's just between you and the coach. You come up with a calendar that accommodates both your schedule and the coach's schedule. But then instead of 15 sessions, it has 9 sessions in total. And that one I didn't even mention. So the professional speakers course goes for 35,000 Kenya shillings, and there's a 3,000 registration fee. The same with the regular speakers course, the one that is one-on-one with 9 sessions. It's that 5,000 Kenya shillings plus a 3,000 registration fee. Now, the third option is the executive speakers course. Now, if also the class setup may not ideally work for your schedule, but you want a wholesome program that is very intense and very wholesome, then the executive speakers course is for you. Especially if you're in leadership position, the executive speakers course would ideally be for you. Now that one has 18 sessions in total, which is different from the others, which has 9 and 8, and it goes for 65,000 with a 3,000 registration fee. That is the executive speakers course. And then the fourth course that we offer under public speaking is the foundational speakers course. Now that's the department that I lead. And this one we do is for kids. Now, if you have a child or if you know a child that is between the age of 7 to 17, and either you notice that they would benefit from having training in public speaking, maybe they are shy kids, or you've noticed that these kids are gifted or they're talented and you'd want them to just sharpen their skills and really just become great speakers at a very young age, those are the kind of kids that we look out for in this class. Also, if you know a kid or you have a kid who is in public speaking or is in leadership in school, or also if you've grown up your whole life struggling with public speaking and you want something different for your child, you just want them to be instilled with their confidence and their skills at a very young age, those are the kids that we want in the program. Now, we normally have the kids program, we have them on Saturdays. We normally meet every Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon at our offices at Luther Plaza in Nairobi. We actually just started our class last Saturday. We had orientation day last Saturday. So the classes will officially start this coming Saturday. Kesho kutwa, that's when we'll officially start our classes. So you can still enroll your child. I think we have 5 slots remaining. Even with the kids, we normally take a limit. We have level 1, level 2, and level 3. At the moment, we have level 1 and level 2. So we don't have intake for level 2 because you have to have undergone level 1 to get into level 2. But we have a few slots in level 1. So if you're interested, you can I'll give details where you can call, find out some more, or you can enroll your child or your sister or your brother or just a child you care for, right? And then other than the public speaking courses, we have the leadership development programs. If you're here, you're in leadership, or you have been appointed to a position of leadership, or you've been struggling in your leadership role and you would want to become a better leader, you want to be more influential, you want to be more inspiring, or you just want to be more equipped as a leader, that is the program that is for you. Here we teach you how to be a leader within, that is who you should show up as a leader, and also how to be a leader without, that is when you're managing a team, how do you show up for your team. So if that seems like fitting, or it's a need that you have at the moment when it comes to leadership, that's a program that I would recommend for you. Have a couple of personal development programs we offer at Africa Center for Public Speaking. If you maybe it's confidence related or it's self-growth related, we have a couple of courses. So if you feel like you're going through some personal development, inspiration, or growth, you can get in touch with us and we can recommend a program for you. We also have job interview preparation skills. Someone asked if the rule of 3 can be applied in interview. Yes, it can. And other than that, we do have the job interview preparation skills. If you have a big interview coming up and you want to impress, or if you have noted that there's a pattern where you get invited to an interview, but they never translate to an opportunity and you want to do it different this time, then this is the program for you. Get in touch with us. We'll tell you how long it will be, depending on how long you have to the interview that you may be preparing for, or whatever duration you have. We can customize a calendar that will ensure that you're equipped by the D-Day. And then last but not least, we have some books. Dan, our coach, Dan, our director, who has just taken us through the session today. He's also a writer. He's written 2 books, Escaping the Poverty Mindset and also Public Speaking from the Heart. Eradicating a Poverty Mindset comes in a soft copy and a hard copy. The hard copies normally go for 1,000 shillings and the soft copy is 400. And also Public Speaking from the Heart is going for 300 shillings. Now, if you are new here, then you may not know this, but if you are a regular, then you know that we really are grateful when people show up for these webinars. You know, it's an invitation, but you taking some time to be here and just engage with us and listen to what our speakers have to say. We don't take it for granted. And for that, we like just appreciating our audience, and how we do that is by offering a discount. Now, if you feel like any of the products I've talked about is something that you're keen to, I would want to motivate you, encourage you by offering you some discounts. Now, that's our number. You can reach us on info@publicspeakingtc.org, or you can send us a text or call us or WhatsApp us on the number +254 734 300 900. Now, the team told me today that the code does not apply for the September class, but if you want to get a head start for the October class, for the professional speakers course, October class will start on 21st. If you'd want to grab your spot early, then there's a 10% discount for you. So this discount does not apply for the class that is starting on Monday. But if you want to jumpstart and book a slot on the October class, then you get a 10% discount. But if you want to enroll in any of the other programs, the regular speakers course, the executive speakers course, or even the foundational speakers course, there's a 10% discount. Code for you. You just need to text or email us with the text or subject discount with the program that you want. And also for the Eradicating a Poverty Mindset copy, there's a discount. Instead of the normal price of 1,000, you can get your hard copy for 800 Kenya shillings. You just need to let us know by, again, sending us an email with any of the subject there, or sending us a text or a WhatsApp, and then our team will get in touch with you on how you can redeem. And again, just to mention, to activate, you just activate by, especially the courses, you just activate by paying you activate your code by paying the registration fee of 3,000, other than the foundational speakers course, which is active. Then you activate by paying your first installment.